Enjoy a little excerpt from our podcast, Roomies Talkin Movies, the next best stop for all things movie news and reviews. Each week, join me, Danan Pacheco, and my co-hosts Camden Powell and Jackson Savastrini as we review the latest movie news and other things that might come up. If you enjoy what you're listening to, please go ahead and give us a listen. You can find us on Spotify and anywhere else podcasts can be listened to. Also, we're new to this whole YouTube thing, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that sort of stuff. You know. Without further ado, please enjoy our review of Zack Snyder's Justice League, baby! That was a little bit too much. I apologize. Alright, now's the time. Go ahead. Lie in bed. We did it. Go ahead, throw your hands in the air.
Lie in bed.
I didn't mean to rhyme, dude. I'm just excited because we finally made it. We thought it wouldn't happen. Then when we did know it was going to happen, we didn't think it would be good. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A big pause in between that, Camden. I thought you were starting a sentence. A little bit of airborne action going on for you. We don't have a soundboard, but Camden does, so
Yeah, I
thanks
am
for
the
that, Camden.
soundboard. I did that with my mouth.
We're here to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Not the one made by him and Joss Whedon, but mostly Joss Whedon, but also partly from him. Get that one out of here. 2017 never even happened. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. The 4-hour epic, and I don't mean epic as in like awesome. I mean epic as in a very long story told concisely. But it just so happens to be epic as it does. Is that not true, Jackson?
Not as epic as it could have been.
Really?
Oh, controversial. We're starting right off the bat.
Yeah, so I think that DC peaked with Suicide Squad. So the Snyder Cut falls a little below that, so like not as epic, but you know, close.
And where do you put the old Justice League? You know, because the Suicide Squad's the best one, so...
I'm gonna rate it about a 0.3 of Suicide Squad.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow.
Now, before we get into everything that happens of the Snyder Cut, spoilers and everything, we want to give a little bit of a history feed to you all who are listening right now. And we want to start off by a tragic incident happened with Zack Snyder on the process of going through Justice League. His daughter had passed away during the creation of it. And then he had a situation where he needed to step away. And then there was like little back talk on like random reporters going, oh, they were going to fire him anyways. So they had about 10 minutes or so to film for the movie, which I don't really understand because this is 4 hours. So they had all the footage. Joss Whedon showed up. He's like, all right, let's fix this 4-hour movie. Let's cut it in half. And then I'm just going to fill in a bunch of random scenes throughout and make it a nice 2-hour movie. Yep. And we reviewed that first one. Not good. Not good.
We had overall negative
Not a good
ideas.
movie.
Almost no positive things to say about that movie.
The ironic thing now, though, is I think if I went back and watched it after seeing the Zack Snyder one, I would like it more.
Really?
Well, yeah, just off of my prior knowledge from the Zack Snyder one, you know? I think my brain would sort of fill in the gaps now on its own.
Yeah. But that's like, you shouldn't...
it's not like it's better. It's just like, it makes more sense now.
Yeah. And then, after that happened, later on, Snyder announced that he was like, oh, I have a finished version of my Justice League. It's out there, and it's just if the people want to have it or not. Then we got the classic, the most hashtag HBO movie of all time, released the Snyder Cut. It was going crazy. 2.5 years of people saying... Where the gosh dang F is my fucking Snyder Cut? You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, you did so much work not to cuss, and then you cussed bad. You did a bad one.
But then we heard a little something. A little fairy flew in the window a little bit time last year in the fall. Zack Snyder said, oh yeah, HBO Max said we could do the Snyder Cut. So it's done. And then we got a poster, and then a release date. And then we got Henry Cavill without a mustache.
But it looked good without a mustache.
He did look good without a mustache. And now we're here.
Reviewing this
before
movie.
We get into the spoilers, let's just do a little spoiler free. The plot's the exact same.
Yeah,
if you know the first
plot.
Yeah, the exact same plot.
The
which
spoiler
I'm glad.
free review will be the same thing.
Yeah.
As the other movie.
Except good this time.
Except good.
They split
Except
this
good.
movie into 6 parts, including a prologue and an epilogue, like a book. Like a book. They made us watch a book. That's crazy.
How dare they?
I hate reading. But each part has a specific objective to, like, okay, here's Cyborg, here's his origin, let's continue. Here's Aquaman and what he's doing, kind of thing. But the 6 chapters aren't like, here's Aquaman's thing, here's Cyborg's. There's just a lot of development. Honestly, the first 4 parts,
Are all
if they were to
development,
split,
pretty
yeah,
much.
if they were to split this into 2 movies like it originally was, the first movie would just be prepping, just setup.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm like, I don't really want to watch a 4-hour movie, this seems like they couldn't have done it any other way.
Like, if they split it up,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have want to seen the second one, I don't think.
It would have been a terrible split.
Because,
Yeah.
Sure.
like, the fleshing out of the characters was really good in, like, the first 4 parts. But, like, if I saw that in this movie alone, I'd be like, is the next movie just going to be just like that? And, like, nothing's going to happen?
Yeah.
So,
And it's a rewarding experience also. When you're watching it,
it
you
doesn't
get
feel
invested.
like 4 hours, honestly.
No, the time flies by. And not in like a negative way where you're like, oh, the movie's over. Like, we paused a couple times just to, like, go to the bathroom, eat, whatever. And we're like, oh, 3 hours already? That's crazy.
It's a really good thing that this was a home release, though, I think.
Oh, there's no way I would watch this in a movie theater.
No, I'd watch it. I just wouldn't
Like,
enjoy
yeah.
it nearly as much because I wouldn't just be like, all right, time to pause, take a break.
Yeah, because you don't want to miss anything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
There'd have to be an intermission.
Yeah. But that's weird in movies whenever they do that.
Really weird, yeah.
Extremely weird. But somehow
Yeah.
acceptable.
What if they did that right before the final fight? Like, they're just like, Steppenwolf's like, now I'm going to kill everyone. 10-minute intermission. Go take a pee. Go walk around for a second.
Go
We'll
pee,
be
go
back
buy
in a
some
second.
popcorn, get a pop.
Depending
Why
on
are
your region of the
intermissions
States.
acceptable in, like, plays? Aren't those just, like, movies?
Well, because you're just surrounded by people. There's no ventilation. There's people just spitting on you while they're singing and talking. You want 10 minutes to
Oh.
kind of, like,
And I also feel
take
like
a
the
shower.
actors kind of want 10 minutes to just chill.
Yeah, it's not pre-recorded,
Yeah,
Jackson.
and they want to do it in the movies, too. Like, they're acting that out
That
in
movie
real
was
time.
live?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
How
incredible.
did they stand so
Every movie
still
is.
when we paused it?
There's little people in the TV. That's how it works.
Gremlins.
Henry Cavill's in the TV?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, if you're going into this expecting the same movie, just like with more scenes, no. Just because it has the same plot, it is a very different film. Tonally, it doesn't look visually as bad. Looks much more put together. New designs for characters. Steppenwolf doesn't look like a gray guy. He looks like a gray monster.
Gray monster. But
In a
he's
shiny,
rich, too.
shiny armor.
He is so rich. It's pure
Yeah.
diamond right there. He got ice.
Yeah.
Having an ice, baby.
Steppenwolf, stay dripping.
True.
We don't get a lot of Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman in this film. Not as a negative thing. They just spend more time fleshing out the characters we didn't really get much of in the first version of Justice League. We get more Cyborg, we get more Flash, we get more Aquaman.
I think we have like about the same for all the characters, but it just doesn't feel like we have as much of those 3 because the other ones
Because it's
actually
4
got some
hours
time
now.
this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's not like there was like not enough time with those characters. It just feels a little bit less now because
And
it's a
the
4-hour
action-
movie.
Yeah, and the action this time doesn't feel as awkwardly stilted. It feels and looks the exact same as it did in Man of Steel in the beginning. Wonder Woman, whenever she hits someone, it's just fast and they're dead instantly. That's something we should actually talk about. This movie is rated R. And, Jackson, how many F-bombs do we get in this movie?
There were, I believe, 3.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's a few F-bombs right
It
there.
was crazy.
That's a crazy amount of F-bombs that we will not get
It
into.
makes me wonder why all superhero movies aren't R rated.
Money.
You can sell more to kids.
You can.
True. But then, like, you look at Deadpool, which was, like, a massive success.
But they can't do that for all their movies, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Did Deadpool make
Prove
as
it.
much as Endgame?
Yeah, but, like,
No.
Checkmate.
Deadpool also
think
wasn't
so.
the culmination of, like, a billion movies.
You got stopped by facts and logic, Jackson.
I wonder if Deadpool made about as much as like a similar superhero movie that came out that year.
I'm sure
Let's-
it made more than like Iron Man, but
Well, I mean that year, you know.
Yeah.
Deadpool came out in 2016. Let's look up 2016 superhero movies. The Doctor Strange domestic box office was 232 million.
Deadpool made about 800 million.
Oh, so they should just do them all R-rated then?
They should just do R-rated then.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, this one example, I think, just proves it, right? That's how statistics work, I'm pretty sure. So.
And the it's more violent in this one as well. Not like gratuitous. It's not like watching a horror film, but like when Steppenwolf is fighting people, it's not like, they're bouncing off the axe. People are just
getting
like
exploding.
their heads are getting
Just
like if someone gets
exploding.
thrown against the wall, like they splatter blood. They don't just go, "Oh, that hurt my back. I'll get right back up though."
Yeah.
Especially because they're dead, probably.
Because they're dead, probably.
They're probably
But-
dead.
It was done so well.
Yeah.
Like, especially that first Wonder Woman scene, I was just kind of in awe because, like, the one that we saw from the original Justice League looked
Was just
nothing
shorter,
like that.
and that's the thing. This movie isn't just longer; it fleshes out scenes that were highlights of the original, while also explaining gaps in logic before.
So many gaps in logic explained.
And we're gonna jump into spoilers now, but before we get into it, our final opinions on like a rating for this. I think it's genuinely a great film. Not just as a superhero thing, not just as the journey it went on, but it is an enjoyable experience. 4 hours might be a lot for most people watching, so you could split it up. They broke it into parts, so you could even watch it over 6 nights if you wanted to. But I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. It is really good.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
I was also going to give it a 9.
What did we give
That's-
the original Justice League? Just like out of
Nah,
curiosity.
I gave it like a 3, I think.
Yeah, I
believe I gave it a
very bad score.
6.5.
I was
Yeah,
somewhere between. The two.
Jackson was really nice. They're like, there were good points, 6.5. And then me and Camden just went below 0, just the worst. And this one
It was a
isn't.
bad movie. This one is not though.
Now that we can talk about spoilers. Oh my god, Mephisto showed up!
Mephisto was there.
It was
At all, but he had to
crazy.
show up somewhere, right?
And Doctor Strange showed up too, and then Mr. Fantastic was there.
John Krasinski was in the whole movie.
And then Loki, we saw Loki in the multiverse of madness.
That was just
Yep.
a little test to make sure people who were listening and accidentally snuck into the spoiler section, they theater hopped into the spoiler section, kind of figured that out. And before we talk about our favorite highlights and points, I wanted us to just look at the scenes that are in both movies, because there weren't a lot. There's maybe 15 minutes from the original Justice League that is in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
And I thought what was interesting was that the introduction of the Flash with Bruce Wayne was completely untouched. Besides
Nothing.
besides the brunch line, which didn't make sense to begin with,
Yeah.
because it was awkwardly placed in
I know
there.
Jackson really liked the brunch line. So
the
sorry,
brunch
Jackson.
line was one of the highlights of the original movie.
Yeah, but
so.
when the original movie's a pile of garbage on fire, and you think, oh, the fire's nice. It's not.
He makes a
not
good
great.
point.
But it was like virtually untouched from beginning to end, besides one joke. And that scene was really good in the first movie. Like just quickly showing the Flash is super fast. Batman knew he was the Flash, and they did it. So there were good parts in that original one.
Yeah.
But this
Oh,
movie
yeah.
just does a lot better. Hey, look at all these characters that are not only interesting and compelling, but are important to why they're here. Wonder Woman's opening scene is fleshed out more. Very violent.
It looked the fighting was amazing.
so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was actual like force behind every punch, and like I don't know, there was one part where she just like hit one guy into another guy, and they both went like slamming into the wall, and I was like, damn, this movie means business.
I will say, and this only happens
Business is
very few
booming.
times. Like, there's some parts, and I think we pointed it out when we were watching them, like where the special effects kind of like aren't terrible, but you can noticeably be like, okay, that could have been cleaned up a little bit more.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad by any means. Like there were just like small things that I was like, nah, that could be touched up, but it wasn't bad.
It
Like,
wasn't
It didn't take me out of
distracting.
the film. Like there was like one scene with a train that was like that was
That
pretty
was like,
bad.
yeah, you're like, it's a good thing that train is not essential to this movie, otherwise
Yeah.
we'd have a problem.
Like in the old movies, Steppenwolf looked really bad, But now in this one train in the background of a sequence looks a little not okay.
And that's the worst part of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
A kind of
so
badly
I'm okay with
animated
that switch, you know?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
You know, a soul for a soul,
Yeah, an eye for a butt, if you will.
if you will. A Steppenwolf for a train, you know?
I'm going to start saying that in my day-to-day life now.
We got ourselves a
Steppenwolf for a
classic
train, you know?
Steppenwolf
And
for
then I
a
got
train
sent
situation.
to therapy for that one.
Camden, you brought up the Steppenwolf train thing again, didn't you?
You know what they say? Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Steppenwolf for a train, am I right?
We're getting you prescriptions as they're frantically writing in the notebook.
I'm just schizophrenic now.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I will say, and this isn't a negative thing on the movie, I'm not trying to knock it. There was so much movie in it, and we were originally going to go like linear on our points we wanted to bring up. I can't remember
No, not at all.
large portions of it. Not like the movie, like, oh, I thought it was bad. There's just 4 hours of it. I think I don't remember 2 hours of it, just because there's so much
maybe
that
that's
happened.
why movies are typically 2 hours long.
2 hours, yeah.
But
I don't think this would have worked as a miniseries, though.
no. It was
Definitely
one
not.
very long, coherent story that
Yeah.
could not have been broken up into individual arcs for episodes. So
Well, I do think a lot of the time. I mean, this is just my opinion, but there were a lot of slow-mo shots that I felt were kind of unnecessary. Especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
and then there was always the Amazonian tribal singing whenever Wonder Woman showed up on
Okay.
screen.
Oh my god. There were
Every
two
time.
sounds that played whenever Wonder Woman came up.
It was
It
either
was her
her
theme
awesome
song, which
theme-
is hype. Everyone
the best
loves it,
theme
like
in
the
the DC universe, for sure.
Come on.
Jackson, you did a
But
flawless impression, by the way.
Yeah.
Then they played the annoying,
I
That was pretty good.
we had subtitles on, and there was a name
It was
for
like
it.
Gaelic frantic singing. And we're like,
yeah, it was,
what?
but it it didn't go with the song. It was just
No.
shouting.
And it would always be in inopportune times. Like in the final fight against Steppenwolf, she'd be like, I got this.
Just
and she
because she
jumps
came
to
on
fight.
screen.
And you're like, we do not need this every time she's on
That's
the scene.
probably
And they
0.8
played it,
of my
7
score
times.
off of it. Bring it down to
Yeah.
a 9.2. The rest is that 0.2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A majority of my hatred for this film is because of that. It took me out of the film every time.
Ironically, if they were to play her old theme every time she entered or did
That'd
something,
be worse,
I'd be like,
obviously.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
No,
I'd
Because
just
think
be
of
like,
how many times that the screaming happened. Imagine if we heard her theme 20 times in this
No,
movie.
I know that's
We're
what
just
I'm saying.
oh my god, oh my
that's what
god,
I'm saying.
stop.
I wouldn't do that just because every time I hear it, I'm like, something cool is gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, let's talk about some fan favorites. Cyborg and the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Give them movies, please.
I can't wait for their movies now.
Cyborg doesn't have a movie yet.
He's gonna have a movie.
Possibly with the Snyder Cut.
He's going to have a movie.
I can't promise you that.
I don't care
They
if you
flesh
can't
out
promise me that.
Cyborg so much. And originally, that's what he was pitched to. Zack Snyder was like, he's the heart of this movie. And in the first one, you're like, in the Joss
Not
Whedon
really.
version, you're like, he's in 2 scenes.
He's not that great in the first movie, and he's not
In the first movie, he's useless.
Yeah.
integral to the plot at all.
In this one, not only is he integral to the plot, he is the only one who can stop this.
Yeah. Well,
And he also has reasoning behind his powers. We actually get a look into what he can do instead of just hey, I'm a robot. I can pull
Beep,
boxes
boop.
apart.
And they
Talk to
did a great
computers.
job because they're like, you can manipulate anything on the digital world. And it showed him turn the $5 she has,
Yeah.
that one random woman, into $10,000. And then
his powers
yeah.
are so cool.
And you're
no,
like-
it was
and you're like,
$100,000.
yeah, you're like, God, I wish they would show that. And then they showed it in the next scene. You're like, this movie did a great job of just playing you. Because you're like, it would be
I
better
want
if
to
they
see that,
showed
and then
it.
they'd show it to you.
When
In the Joss Whedon, you're like, oh, I wonder how that happened, and they're like, yeah, me too. Moving on.
what's with brunch, huh? And you're like, God damn it. And they did that again. I think the best way of playing with the audience in this movie was when Cyborg's dad sacrificed himself to destroy the box, and we're like, that's stupid. Why would he do
Nothing
that?
even happened.
You're like, the
He
box
just
doesn't
died.
do that. And then Cyborg is explaining it. It's like, oh, he superheated it so we could track it. And I felt like I was in the room with the Justice League in that scene. It was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that's why you did that. He did a great
sucks
job.
he's dead, but
Yeah.
yo.
What if he just did it with the door closed and him outside? But hey.
Yeah, why did he have to be in there? It was a
because-
remote control. He could have just
Steppenwolf
walked right
probably
out.
would have cut him in half.
No, I think so, but it wouldn't have mattered because he just wanted the mother box. When he got the mother boxes, he just left. So, like, if he superheated it and then went, here, you can have it, Steppenwolf will go, thanks, and then just leave.
Yeah. Also, let's talk about Steppenwolf's plan. In the first one, he's like, Mother, I will find you, Mother. I'm gonna wake you up, Mummy. He had like a huge,
Mom.
weird mom fetish. And in this one, he's like a fallen soldier. He's like just as like despicable, but in this one, it's like he's supposed to be. It's not like a sad embarrassment of a villain. He's like, Darkseid, if you want me back, dude, I'll blow up this planet right now, dude. And he has a reason to be there. It's not just
Exactly. It's like he wants redemption.
Yeah, he wants redemption. I think it was a better version of Ronin's thing in Guardians of the Galaxy because he's like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, I want to impress Thanos," and then he turns on him. In this one, he's like, "I gotta impress Darkseid," and even when he's losing, he's trying to impress Darkseid. Like he's loyal to a fault, and that loyalty is his like own undoing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
That
makes
was great.
perfect sense.
Which makes perfect
it made
sense.
sense
And
in
then,
this
like,
movie.
So obviously this movie introduced Darkseid, whereas the other Justice League
Didn't.
had no mention of him whatsoever. But they also introduced that really important like plot device. It was the
Anti-life equation.
the anti-life equation, which was also not introduced in the original Justice League. And you think to yourself, like, why? Why wasn't it? It seems so important.
After
It
watching
doesn't seem
this
super important
movie,
to the movie,
yeah,
but to
But,
the
like,
whole
for
DC
future
universe, that's
Yeah.
really important. This is their Thanos. Like, this is what they're setting it up to be.
DC has a lot of situations where their specific characters that are similar to Marvel's characters came out first. Darkseid was Thanos before Thanos was even made. But because DC's been just playing with their dicks in circles going "Ooh-hoo," over movies for like 20 years, now
They're
Marvel
really
has just been
behind.
going, oh, look, here's our thing. They're copying Thanos. When if DC had like their heads on straight since the beginning, they'd be like, oh, look, they're copying us. Isn't that cute? They're trying to make their Darkseid. But how cool was Darkseid? Even though he's only in it for like 5 minutes tops,
He was pretty dope.
you can see just in like his small interactions, you're like,
You can
this guy-
instantly tell how powerful he is. too.
yeah. Like with Thanos, it was just like this guy's a huge threat, but he's like a person. This guy just seems like an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we get to see like future scenes where he's like killing people
yeah.
with his Omega beams. Oh,
So
my
great.
gosh.
Do we think that this future Nightmare verse is the unavoidable end of Zack Snyder's story? Or do we think if there is a sequel, this is a huge if, they go back and forth between like Batman making the choices to save Lois and then the Nightmare verse slowly becoming undone because of Batman's choices?
I think Undone.
I don't think, like, as with the MCU, you know, when everyone dies, or like half the universe dies, they're gonna have a way to bring it back. And I think that's gonna be, because we saw, like, the epilogue, or whatever. It was Bruce's dream. And he was like, this is the only way we can fix this. And I think that's kind of going to be somewhere a few movies down the line. They need to do more to get to that point. But that's going to be something that we can look to expect.
Yeah. Speaking of, and I know we're just hopping around, and I bet the listeners are just loving that, but we're schizophrenic, so
Of course.
you understand. The epilogue, while like doing a great conclusion for the initial story, I thought Deathstroke Lex Luthor scene should have ended the movie, and the Nightmare scene should have just came before it, because it did such a good job of like making people to go, oh, we need the Ben Affleck Batman movie on HBO Max now, because Deathstroke shows up and he's like, yeah, I want to kill Batman for free, and then Lex Luthor goes like, oh, here's a little tip, he's Bruce Wayne, which just raises so many questions, because when did Luthor know that?
I think that would have been a perfect post-credit scene, and the epilogue should have
The
only
Nightmare
been
scene. Yeah,
Nightmare
they should have played
sequence.
around with that a little more,
Yeah.
but it's a 4-hour movie, so I'm sure they were like, let's just...
It doesn't really matter. We all just kind of
Yeah.
watched it no matter what. Like, it didn't really throw anything off. I just think it would have been better in that order. But it's not my
Now,
vision.
speaking of vision, Martian
Martian
Manhunter
Manhunter.
showed up.
Vision. Wow.
He looks like Vision because
Mephisto.
they
Yeah,
both have
that's
capes.
exactly where I
They
was
both
going
have
with
capes and they're
that. And green
bald.
in some areas.
Green sometimes.
Red,
yeah.
a little red.
Yeah. A little bit of red.
What do we-
Flying too.
I think Martian Manhunter's design is cool and all that. Why didn't he show up? Like, to help it all?
I think. Well, okay. I know you're complaining about it, but he
He
kind of
was
explained it at
manhunting
the end of the movie
people on Mars.
to Batman when he was like, "Oh yeah, I now realize like after that whole thing happened, I actually do have like stakes on this earth. So now I'm gonna help because like I realize like if that went wrong, my whole life would have been messed up. So now I guess I should chip in."
Isn't that kind of like a dick move on Martian Manhunter's part? He's like, okay, I guess I'll join your stupid league.
100%, but it answers the question of why
Yeah.
he wasn't there.
All right. Point for Camden.
And I mean, he had that dialogue with Lois, like, in the middle of the movie, but I kind of still don't
Why did
understand
he
what that
show
was
up
all
then
about.
if not to show up at the end?
If he wasn't
Yeah.
trying to help.
That's
Yeah,
why I
don't
think
know.
they should have just, like, done that big reveal, have him show up, or just take out the Lois Lane scene and have Martian Manhunter show up as the general, and he's like, I need your help. He's like, I don't work for the military. He goes like, what about for a Martian? And then he transforms there.
Oh.
But I mean, those are just baby things. Let's talk about the big fight, which is surprisingly like 40 whole minutes of a final action scene. It was
And
a
it was
great action
All
scene.
40 minutes of it
Remember
was
in
fantastic.
the Joss Whedon version, it was
Yeah,
just
and
a
they-
red, like blown up city, and they had to save a Russian family in a house. None of that is in this part.
Good.
None of it.
Great. Fantastic.
It was literally just like a siege on a giant city. Like, there were turrets,
on the dome.
there were alien bugs everywhere.
Batman still used guns. Still not totally for that.
He's still using guns.
But I mean,
But like there was less.
But there was
of,
more
he
kung
did
fu.
throw a lot more punches rather than resorting immediately to a gun, which I did enjoy.
Which is better.
Batman
It's better.
shouldn't kill, but yeah, he's a grizzled Batman. I get it.
He's been doing it for 20
I
years.
love the fact that not only did they feel more like a team because of those extra scenes that played up like an hour and a half of the movie where they like either like talked and like, yeah, my dad died too, or things like that, and they grew connections, or through the little jokes they had, like when Flash tripped Aquaman and he just points at him like, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And they planned things out. It wasn't Batman going, if there's even a fraction of a chance Superman could come back, we gotta do it right now. It was like, well, we gotta weigh the odds right now. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
And they actually reasoned through it, like, instead
They
of just being like,
explained their thought
Mother
process.
box in Kryptonium ship equals Superman. They
That's
were like,
how it works.
wait a minute. Mother box can change atoms, and it can change the form of someone dead and make them alive again.
Mm-hmm.
And it did.
It did.
Yep.
And
But it took
was
a sacrifice.
yeah.
Rest in peace, Cyborg's dad.
Cyborg's dad,
That
dead as
sucks.
dicks.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed
well.
it. Wasn't like, I'm gonna fly my plane in and blow up the shield, and then you all fight Steppenwolf. It was Batman's like, I'll create a distraction. Wonder Woman, you and
And he created a
Aquaman
hell of a
kill
distraction.
kill as many as you can. Flash, you get Cyborg in there, and you two defuse the boxes. And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so this is a competent group of superheroes.
Do we want to talk about the ending and how different it was
You mean
from the original?
Yes.
You mean
Like the
instead
whole
of
Flash thing.
Oh, I was gonna first talk about Superman showing up in this first.
Yeah, but he didn't really. It doesn't matter.
He shows up for less in this one, but it feels more rewarding because
Yeah,
like his
it was more
entrance
meaningful.
wasn't just like I am the Justice League and then he punches him. It was like
Black suit.
yeah, the axe goes into him and doesn't do anything, and he goes like not impressed, and then just in one move, he just breaks the axe, which I thought was so much better than them like
And he
fighting.
just lasers off one of his
Yeah,
horns.
like-
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah, so good.
What I did think was stupid, though, is as soon as he calmed down from seeing Lois, he left. And if he hadn't left, Cyborg's dad probably would have died.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of like you gotta do what you gotta do.
But no, he had to go fondle some
They
corn
left that
back
in.
on his
I
farm.
don't know why they did that.
They did. He likes the corn a lot, and Lois still isn't pregnant. I don't know why.
I think Lois is pregnant, right?
I think so. We just don't.
We were
know it
shown
yet.
a pregnancy test in the film for like
A
a
boxed
pretty
one, at
significant
least.
amount of time.
Like they can't.
Like,
Like,
they really
I thought we
focused
paused
on
the
it.
movie for a second because
Yeah.
it didn't change.
They're like,
from,
hey, look at this thing. Look at it now, audience. Thank you.
is Lois pregnant? We don't know. But I think they
Maybe you'll
didn't
find
tell
out.
us, so that way audiences were like, we need a sequel.
Yeah.
Like they kept a lot.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
obviously.
Like
but
they didn't
I'd like to know.
Yeah, I want to know too.
They got me.
They got
me.
yeah.
for sure.
Is she pregnant?
I got. Yeah,
You
100%.
did get got. And before we talk about the absolute jaw-dropping scene, which we all know, I want to say that although Steppenwolf is awesome, I think that he is like the second most threatening villain that they've shown in the DC movies. But it seemed like even if Superman didn't show up, they would still
They
get him.
still would have had it handled.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a
Yeah.
General Zod situation where you're like, you have to kill him in order to stop him, or he will destroy everything. It just seemed like, no, give him like 10 more minutes. I'm sure the Justice League will wrap this up.
But I think that was a good thing. Like I think it actually showed that when they all unite forces, they're actually really effective
You
and
can
they
cut
know
off
what they're doing.
Steppenwolf's head.
You can just do it if
Yep.
you want to.
I thought that was sick,
That was
though.
so
the
cool.
ending scene where they slow-mo'd hitting him back to like
Darkseid.
Apocalypse is their planet, right? So like a portal open to Apocalypse. Superman punches him back inside, and then you see Aquaman stabbing him, right?
Yeah,
through
Aquaman
the back.
stabs him in the back with his trident.
And then Wonder Woman just jumps and slices off his head, and his head goes into Apocalypse.
And it wasn't even like Darkseid was like, oh no, my baby boy, look how you massacred him.
not
He just
care
stepped
at
on his
all.
head. He's like, oh, fuck it, let's invade Earth. And then he just walked
Yep.
away. That was so cool.
That was pretty
But
cool.
before we even saw that, everyone died.
Everyone
died. No joke. We're telling the truth.
Nightmare
Everyone died.
happened.
Nightmare.
Except who didn't die?
Jackson, you watched the movie.
Barry
Oh, it
Allen.
was the Flash.
The
baby.
Flash, baby!
He noticed it was happening and went, "Uh-oh, time to go really fast so this doesn't affect me."
And he just
And then he was like-
phased through everything.
Yeah, he just let it all pass over him, and he was like, "All right, time to break the rule. Gotta run faster than the speed of light." And then he started running, and then he basically broke space and time and reversed time and fixed it all.
And they
Yep.
did a good job,
And-
leading into that when they resurrected Superman. Because before
Yeah.
the picture of Superman's dad didn't have a reason for being there, but in this movie, when Flash is running super quickly, it's like there to show that it lifts back up for a half second.
Like the Flash was late, but
Yeah.
then he started running so fast that
he reversed it
time.
for
So
like
he
half a second.
he wasn't running super fast. He just kind of ran through time instead, which
Yeah.
I think is a better explanation for how he runs so fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, we haven't really talked about it in detail, but on the topic of the Flash, I really liked his introduction scene with Iris. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. It was really well done. It was really well
Yeah.
done. They did.
And it really explained his character, you know?
Yeah, and I thought he was just grabbing like a hot dog in that scene as like a joke, as a throwaway gag. But then he did it to seem like he was a competent dog owner at the
So
pet
Iris
shop.
knows he's like the
What
Flash.
I'm sure like 80 citizens
Yeah,
who watched
everyone
him do
around
that.
there knows that he's the Flash, but they're all like, "Well, Superman, so whatever, I guess."
Yeah, we're still sad. Also, what is the timeline of this movie? They do a great job.
I don't know
keeping-
how
Did
far. after
Superman
it is.
just die and then this takes
I
place?
think he did.
I think
it
it was
probably
like
like
about
a week or two.
It's.
No more
I
than
think
2
it's got to
weeks.
be like 2 months because
Nuh-uh.
Well, if Lois actually was pregnant, she'd at least have a little bit of a baby bump at that
yeah.
point.
Oh, you got me there. No, that's a great point.
Yeah, you.
That's why I'm
stupid.
thinking
You were
because
so
we
dumb.
could not tell,
Yeah,
based on appearance, that she was pregnant. And if she is actually pregnant, then
it has to be way sooner.
it probably
than
would
we're
have been like a
thinking.
week
Yeah.
or two. Yeah.
I really don't think it's more than 2 weeks. It can't be.
But and then in the vein of that, the whole point of like the death and rise of Superman is like Superman died and there was a substantial amount of time between his death and people were like, well, what are we gonna do? Do we get a new Superman? But in this one, if this is the timeline we set up, that means Superman died on Tuesday and got resurrected on like Saturday, and then he's just back.
Yeah.
And it just seems odd.
But I mean, it had to have been like a some amount of time because
Yeah.
like Lois had set up a routine, and she hadn't gone to work in a while.
Yeah,
is
but
what I think they
that's
said.
like the thing. Some of the conversations that are had, they lose a lot of depth to them if this has been a week.
That's true.
I don't. Maybe a month.
Yeah,
Let's
like
call it like a month.
The reason I'm like unsure is because the beginning scene where Superman's like screaming out as he's getting killed by Doomsday. That like quote unquote wakes the mother boxes.
Yeah.
And then immediately Steppenwolf is like,
and then
time
like
to go.
immediately Steppenwolf
So
is
yeah,
there.
it must not.
we
be
don't know if
super
it's
long.
like one of those time jump things where Steppenwolf's like, oh, okay, let me start heading towards Earth kind of thing.
Yeah, it might be, but he kind of just teleports though.
Yeah, he seems to have like the power of instant
those
transmission.
boom tubes are
Those are
great.
Pretty useful. I want one.
Yeah, but then what
They
if
make
it
a
just
cool
rips
noise,
your
too.
skin
It's
off
like,
your
whoop.
body
It's a price I'm willing to pay.
to be there half a second earlier?
That's awesome.
Batman isn't really relevant in this movie, is he?
He brought the team together.
I mean, he's as relevant as he can
Yeah.
be in a movie of
He created the Justice
extraterrestrial.
League, and they really like talk about the fact that like it wouldn't have happened without him bringing the team together.
Yeah.
So that was his role in this.
And
movie,
is it the fact
you know?
that he brings together the Justice League that's going to stop his nightmare thing from happening? Or
No, well,
What?
because in Nightmare the Flash is there, so like they get together at some point, you know.
there's so many goddamn questions, Zack Snyder. What do you
Yeah.
want to do? Film
Come
a
on,
second
Zachary.
Justice League?
I mean, this has to be canon now, right? Because it
I hope it
actually
is.
is good.
I
They're
think
totally gonna switch it up.
no. I think
I
what
hope
they'll
so.
do is they'll have the Snyderverse. Like they'll do some.
The Spider-Verse,
The Spider
of course.
Verse
Oh my
into
God.
into the Snyderverse with
They'll do
spiders
something
in it.
in the vein of like the Legend of Zelda timeline thing, where they'll have movies that are like canon for both timelines, like Man of Steel, Batman vs
I
Superman.
hope they don't do
Wonder
that.
Woman. Those take place in both the Shazam and other movies, the Suicide Squads, and then this one is just a straightforward line: Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League. I don't want that, but I think that's going to be their easier way of doing it, rather than people are like, so is Shazam not canon anymore? And they're like, it is, but things change, kind of thing. Like, they'd have to do more explaining than just going, this is its own timeline.
Yeah.
I hope they just treat the old Justice League as not canon and treat this one as
Yeah,
canon.
this is the
and keep
one
them all
Justice
together.
League movie. I'd prefer that.
I want this
'Cause
to
you
be
know
the
what?
main
Screw
canon.
Joss
I don't
Whedon.
want them to do two separate canons because they're basically saying, let's do one bad set of movies and one good set of movies.
Shazam
you know?
was okay, dude. It was fun.
Shazam was good.
good.
I
I know,
actually
I
really
know,
like
but, like,
Shazam.
This Justice League movie has set like a standard for the DC universe, I think. Like I think it's the best movie that they've released. Personally.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, like that and
For the DCEU?
yeah, I don't think we're
Probably.
going all the way back to like Dark Knight.
Well, no,
and-
I'd say that, like, as big and epic as this movie is, most of the movies that came before Man of Steel are on par, if not slightly better than this one.
I would say they're on
Like,
par.
you know, like the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman movie. Sure, it's tacky, but like you watch that and you're like,
I'm not
That's
talking.
great. No, I know, we're talking about
that.
the
I'm talking about all the
DCEU.
recent ones.
yeah, in the most recent ones, this is easily the best one. But I think the further we go back, like in my personal opinion, Christopher Reeve's Superman 1 is still and probably will always be the best superhero movie, just because it started everything. And it's just got like the charm and all of that. But this, if we're not doing charm anymore and we're doing badass superheroes stopping the
like
end of
modern
the world
superhero movie
and working
like,
together as a team,
This is a great.
this
movie.
is a great movie.
Yep.
I don't think you could compare this to the first Avengers film or even Infinity War and
No.
Endgame because they're completely different circumstances. This one had Avengers had a slow build towards it. This one did the storytelling within its movie. Like, it wasn't catch these
It's not a
first
bad
four
thing.
movies to understand Avengers. It's
Because DC has so much catching up to do that they can't really afford to waste 10 years setting up a plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they just
Yeah,
need to get
exactly.
going with it, get it started, expand it, and then they can really like delve into everything.
And I think they should take a little tip out of Disney Plus's book and just either release short series like special events like WandaVision or like movies on HBO Max. Like, we're going to release
Absolutely.
8 movies this year, like they're talking about. Because before I was like, that's crazy. But after seeing this makes so much more sense for them to do that. They'll release like 2 or 3 in actual theaters, but most of it's just going to be like, watch this to learn about Constantine. Watch this to learn about Batgirl. But the next big movie is going to be Batman and Superman, World's Finest. Stuff like that. Like, you're like, okay, anything you want to learn about, watch these, but we're just going to do this movie next.
Yeah.
I think DC is far from being out of it.
I think they got a lot of work ahead of them, but they're going in the right direction.
Yeah. Much like Jared Leto's Joker. Still don't really like him.
The laugh was the worst part.
Laugh was
but like
not
other than
good.
that, the change in
He
like
was so much more
look,
like the Joker, though.
yeah,
And not like a gangster who has some mental issues.
But
you know?
I think that there was still like moments where it was a little too Jim Carrey as the Riddler-esque, where he was like, "Isn't that right, Brucey? A hunka," and you're like, okay, well, let's like he was a lot calmer, but he still had those moments where it's like, that's a little too much, Jared Leto.
I don't know. I liked it
Batman a
actually. I
fish
thought it was
stick.
pretty good.
That was like that whole scene. God, this movie's good. All right, what do you want from
This
us?
is a good movie.
This is a great experience.
If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it.
Like, our review is not going to provide enough justice to the Justice League.
Oh, Camden.
Heyo.
But we genuinely mean this. I think, honestly, out of the movies we reviewed so far, this is the one I can confidently say. I mean, maybe besides Soul, but that's a completely different reason.
Sonic.
Okay. The only movie since Sonic the Hedgehog where we all completely agree, if you haven't watched the movie, you don't need to go all in. Don't go buck wild. You don't need to sit through all 4 hours. But definitely give it a try.
I think it's better enjoyed all at once, but if you can't do it, you're gonna be fine.
You're gonna be
like it's
fine.
split up for you. Like you can take some breaks.
You can just stop in between the pauses and then start up at chapter 6, whatever. Give it a shot. Because you could go into this not seeing any of the Superman movies, any of the Batman movies. This will make sense. This will just be straightforward. Okay, that's Batman. Okay, Cyborg's this thing. They do a great job explaining it. Every scene has a purpose. And the story being told isn't trying to do more than what it's setting out to do. It didn't reinvent the wheel, and this isn't like, oh my god, this redefined cinema. But this is what happens when fans and passionate filmmakers and creators all want something to happen that they know is better than what was given.
Yep.
And in the case of the Snyderverse,
like Sonic.
like Sonic, everyone was like Sonic. Everyone was like, this design is bad. And the creators are like, yeah, we want to fix this. And then they fix it. And then they make the best movie of 2020.
Exactly.
It's a little too early to call this the best movie of 2021.
It's not going to win any awards.
But 2021 better pack some fucking heat if they're going to try to compete with the Snyderverse. This movie was fantastic.
They're going to call it the Snyderverse The Beginnings. In the future. Calling it now.
They're going to call it Snyderverse Movie 1,
Begins.
Chapter 1 through 6 plus Epilogue. And they're like, that's a long title.
Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey and the fantabulistic emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Any closing thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League?
It was a good movie. That's all I got to say. I really, really enjoyed it. I went in with very low expectations, and they were beyond exceeded. So I'm happy with it.
Just want to say I was right in thinking that this was going to be a good movie, so screw you, Camden.
I will admit when I'm wrong, but I am not wrong here, okay? I know I just said I was, but I'm not.
I don't want to be wrong at this current moment.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with being wrong a minute ago, but not right now.
But now that you're the one proving me wrong, I don't want to be wrong anymore.
Anyone but you two. Just anyone.
Hope you all enjoyed listening to our review. Let us know down below what you thought of the Snyder Cut. Was it too long? I mean, thinking back on it now, you probably could have cut out maybe 30 minutes of slow motion and the film would be the exact same. But, you know, that's just nitpicking at this point. See you all on our next post on YouTube. And we definitely hope to see you listening in on our next episode. Take care, and we will see you all next time.